Here's what a whole year of playing house with someone who refuses to put a label on it actually looks like, and why the Titan edition of this story hurts so much worse than a normal breakup ever could. So you've been seeing this guy for 12 months, not dating, not in a relationship, just hanging out. But if you look closely at the past year, you basically lived together. You had a toothbrush at his place. He knew your coffee order. You met his mom at a grocery store, and she hugged you like a daughter-in-law. You celebrated his birthday. He celebrated your promotion. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you forgot that he never actually asked you to be his girlfriend. That's the trap. And it's a sneaky one. The Titan edition of this story isn't about a ship sinking fast. It's about the biggest, most unsinkable situationship you've ever been in. And then, out of nowhere, he hits you with the line, "I think we should just be friends." Not because you fought, not because someone cheated, but because he got comfortable. He got everything a boyfriend gets without ever being one. And you? You got 12 months of hope with zero security. Let's rewind to month 1. Things are amazing. He texts you good morning. He takes you to dinner. He holds your hand in the car. You think this is it. He's just shy about labels. So you don't push it. You tell yourself actions speak louder than words. And his actions, they scream boyfriend. Month 3 rolls around and your friends start asking, "So, what is he?" And you freeze, because you actually don't know. You say things like, "We're seeing each other," or "It's complicated." Meanwhile, he's posting you on his story. He's introducing you as this is her. You laugh it off, but deep down, a little alarm goes off. You ignore it, because the good days are really good. Month 6. This is where the Titanic hits the iceberg in slow motion. You've now spent half a year doing couple things. You've been sick in front of him. You've cried about work. You've gone on a weekend trip where you shared a bed. At this point, a normal person would assume you're together. But here's the problem. He never agreed to that. In his head, you're still an option. A really convenient, really loving, really reliable option. But still an option. Studies have shown that the brain on uncertainty actually works harder than the brain on a clear problem. A 2016 study from University College London found that not knowing an outcome makes the brain's dopamine system go into overdrive. In plain English, the hot and cold treatment is literally addictive. You keep chasing the good days because they feel like a reward. That's why you stay for month 7, 8, and 9. You're not in love with him anymore. You're in love with the idea of him finally choosing you. Month 10 is where it gets cruel. He starts pulling back. Not fully, just enough for you to notice. He takes 2 hours to reply. You've gone on a weekend trip where you shared a bed. At this point, a normal person would assume you're together. But here's the problem. He never agreed to that. In his head, you're still an option. A really convenient, really loving, really reliable option. But still an option. Studies have shown that the brain on uncertainty actually works harder than the brain on a clear problem. A 2016 study from University College London found that not knowing an outcome makes the brain's dopamine system go into overdrive. In plain English, the hot and cold treatment is literally addictive. You keep chasing the good days because they feel like a reward. That's why you stay for month 7, 8, and 9. You're not in love with him anymore. You're in love with the idea of him finally choosing you. Month 10 is where it gets cruel. He starts pulling back. Not fully, just enough for you to notice. He takes 2 hours to reply. He's busy with work, 3 weekends in a row. So what do? You try harder. You cook his favorite meal. You buy him a small gift just because. You think if you can just be perfect enough, he'll wake up and realize what's in front of him. But here's the hard truth. He already knows what's in front of him. He just doesn't want to pay the price. Month 11. The conversation you've been avoiding finally happens. You ask, "Where is this going?" And his face drops. Not because he's scared of losing you, but because he's scared of losing the benefits without the title. He says things like, "I'm not ready for a relationship right now," or "I don't want to ruin what we have." Classic lines. But here's the kicker. He doesn't say no. He says, "Not right now." And that tiny little space between not and right now is where he keeps you trapped for another 30 days. So you wait. You tell yourself you've already invested 11 months. What's one more? You start tracking his moods. If he's sweet, you feel high. If he's distant, you feel sick. That's called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same psychological pattern that makes slot machines so addictive. You're pulling the lever over and over, waiting for the jackpot, where he finally calls you his girlfriend. But the casino always wins. And in this game, the house is his fear of commitment. Now we get to month 12, the anniversary of nothing. You probably expected a romantic gesture. Instead, he shows up with a blank face and says, "I value you so much, but I think we work better as friends." Wait, what? After 365 days of late-night calls, family dinners, and emotional support, he wants to be friends? That's like building a whole house, living in it for a year, and then saying, "Actually, I think this works better as a parking lot." This is the moment where most people break. Not because they lost a boyfriend, but because they lost a future they already built in their head. You had already named your imaginary dog. You had already picked out what you'd wear to his cousin's wedding. You had already invested so much emotional energy that the thought of just friends feels like a scam, because it is a scam. Here's what actually happened. He used your loyalty to fill every single one of his needs while giving you nothing but potential. He got comfort, intimacy, support, and validation. And the only thing you asked for in return was a title, a word, a single public label that said, "I am not single." And he couldn't even give you that. So when he says just friends, what he really means is, "I want to keep you around in case I get lonely, but I want the freedom to explore other options without feeling guilty." That's not friendship. Friendship doesn't come with a 12-month trial period of physical and emotional intimacy. Friendship doesn't include meeting parents at Christmas. That's a relationship. He just didn't have the courage to call it what it was. Now you're stuck in the wreckage. You're not mourning a breakup. You're mourning something that never officially existed. And that's actually harder. Because when a relationship ends, you have closure. You had a title, you had a definition, and then it broke. But with a situationship, you don't even get the dignity of a proper ending. You just get confusion. And confusion is emotional quicksand. The more you struggle to understand it, the deeper you sink. So what do you do on day one after the just friends speech? You walk away. Not because you're angry, not because you want him to chase you, but because staying friends with someone who downgraded you after a full year is like asking the person who set your house on fire to watch your dog. It makes no sense. Real talk. You cannot be friends with someone you were in love with while they were still figuring out if you were worth commitment. That's not a friendship. That's a hostage situation. And you're the one holding the door locked from the inside. The science backs this up too. A study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that people who stay friends with an ex, they still have feelings, for experience way higher rates of anxiety and depression. It's not strength to stay, it's self-harm. And in a Titan edition, Situationship, where you spent a whole year playing wife without the ring, staying friends would destroy you slowly. Here's the plot twist you didn't see coming. Him reducing you to just friends is actually the best gift he could have given you. Because now you're free. Free to stop guessing. Free to stop begging for crumbs. Free to stop analyzing his texts. For 12 months, you were stuck in a maze with no exit. He just handed you the map. The exit says walk away. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts like stepping on broken glass barefoot. But on the other side of that glass is solid ground. Think about it this way. The Titanic sunk because it hit an iceberg it couldn't see. But you saw the red flags. You felt the distance. You knew something was off when he dodged the "what are we" talk for the 5th time. The difference is, you chose to ignore them because the ship felt big and strong and unsinkable. But no situationship is unsinkable. Every single one of them hits a point where someone has to either commit or get out. He chose to get out. And that tells you everything you need to know about his character. By the way, there's a name for what he did. It's called breadcrumbing, leaving. Just enough interest to keep you following him, but never enough to actually feed you. And you've been starving for a year without realizing it. You thought you were in a relationship, but a relationship has 2 people rowing in the same direction. You were rowing by yourself while he sat in the boat eating snacks. So here's your closure. You didn't lose him. You lost a fantasy. The real him was the guy who could spend 12 months with you and still not know if you were the one. That's not a man who's confused. That's a man who's comfortable, using you until something he perceives as better comes along. And do you really want to be friends with someone like that? The answer is no. Don't do the let's be friends thing. Don't keep following him on social media. Don't answer his hey, how have you been? Text 3 months from now when he gets lonely, because he will send it. I promise you he will. And when he does, remember this day. Remember how small he made you feel when he reduced a whole year of your life to just friends. Instead, take that energy and pour it back into yourself. The same way you planned dates for him, plan a solo trip. The same way you remembered his favorite snack, buy yourself flowers. The same way you showed up for him every single time, start showing up for yourself. Because the saddest part of the Titan edition, Situationship, isn't that he left. It's that you forgot you were the main character in your own story. You made him the star, and he didn't even deserve a cameo. So here's where you stand. The ship went down. The water is cold, but you're still breathing. And unlike the actual Titanic, you get a lifeboat. The lifeboat is your self-respect. Get in it, row away. Don't look back at the wreckage wondering if you could have saved it. You couldn't, because it was never yours to save. It was always just a rental, and now the lease is up. That feeling in your chest right now, that's not heartbreak, that's relief. You just don't recognize it yet because you've been holding your breath. For 12 months, waiting for him to choose you. You can finally exhale. If this story hit a little too close to home, you're probably going to want to watch the next video that's popping up on your screen right now, because it shows you the exact 5 red flags you missed in month 1, and trust me, you don't want to miss them again.